Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We are here in the sacred space of 22nd Avenue, Matchless Gifts, on the auspicious occasion of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur's Tirubhav, his disappearance day. So we're very fortunate and blessed to be here on this occasion, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I can't imagine what would give Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur much more pleasure than to see devotees in the middle of the Western world reading Bhagavatam.
Yeah, not just reading Bhagavatam, but like in his dear disciples, like first little temple. The disciple that took it on, and so much trouble for him, you know?
Picked up his order.
Yeah.
The order of the spiritual master,
So
and fulfilled it.
That's even, you know how you might, and it's going on nearly 60 years later. Because today is the actual day that you're watching this, and we're filming it. And tonight, the Matchless Gifts, because every Wednesday there's a Prabhupada meditations program. So we're going to hear a class from Prabhupada about his guru.
Hari Hari Bol. Confirmed. Okay, so without a further ado, we're
reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 45.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 45. Since only a person who is completely educated according to the principles of Vedic knowledge deserves to be commander-in-chief, ruler of the state, the first to chastise or the proprietor of the whole planet, Prithu Maharaj offered everything to the Kumaras. Papa. In this verse, it's very clearly stated that a kingdom, state, or empire must be governed under the instructions of saintly persons and brahmanas, like the Kumaras. When monarchy ruled throughout the world, the monarch was actually directed by a board of brahmanas and saintly persons. Interesting. The king, as the administrator of the state, executed his duties as a servant of the brahmanas. It was not that the kings or brahmanas were dictators, nor did they consider themselves proprietors of the state. The kings were also well versed in Vedic literatures, and thus were familiar with the injunction of Sri Ishopanishad, Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam. Everything that exists belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also claims that he is the proprietor of all planetary systems, Sarva Lokam Maheshwaram. Since this is the case, no one can claim to be proprietor of the state. The king, president, or head of the state should always remember that he is not the proprietor, but the servant. Can I just see the... Because I think, I'm just going... in America, they say that the president is the commander-in-chief, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was reading that, and I was like, so I guess Prabhupada was writing like that, because he heard that term. But I don't know why he's writing like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. He was always trying to make
point.
things relevant, though, and relatable.
Yeah. But the king president, because it says the king president or head of the state should always remember that he is not the proprietor but the servant. And I was thinking, this subtle point, this subtle crossing over of in the consciousness of when we're put in charge of something or someone or someone's, isn't it? It's really interesting when it yeah, when it goes from, wow, I'm so honored, oh my God, you mean me, oh, and you feel all like, when there's that initial connection, as it were, to Krishna, and then it crosses over subtly, and that connection is lost, and instead of thinking that we're the servant, we think we're the master, and then that's when it goes horribly wrong, basically, for us and everyone else. So that's interesting. Interesting point.
Okay. So there's a few more paragraphs in this purport. In the present age, the king or president forgets that he is the servant of God and thinks of himself as servant of the people. The present democratic government is proclaimed to be a people's government, a government by the people and for the people. But this type of government is not sanctioned by the Vedas. Interesting. The Vedas maintain that a kingdom should be governed for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and should therefore be ruled by a representative of the Lord. The head of a state should not be appointed if he is bereft of all Vedic knowledge. In this verse it is clearly stated, Veda Shastra Vidyarti, that all high government posts are especially meant for persons who are well conversant with the teachings of the Vedas. In the Vedas there are definite instructions defining how a king, commander-in-chief, soldier, and citizen should behave. Excuse me. Unfortunately, there are many so-called philosophers in the present age who give instruction without citing authority, and many leaders follow their unauthorized instruction. Consequently, people are not happy. Very, very important point, and it's interesting because you think, okay, so a king doesn't see himself as a servant of God, but he sees himself as a servant of the people, which in one sense you could say if someone sees himself as dasa nu das, then that's a good thing. So it's better than, I thought Prabhupada was going to say they don't see themselves as servants of God, they see themselves as God, which is, you could say, worse. But this point, yeah, of the people, by the people, which you were mentioning, did Prabhupada get that from the current day? Yeah, because that, is the American Constitution is, by the people, of the people, or the Declaration of Independence. I can't remember which one. I think it's the Constitution. So Prabhupada is saying, but that's not according to the Vedas. The Vedas isn't that it's, established by the people, for the people, but it's established for the purpose of serving God. And everybody is aligned, and therefore the leader has to be someone who is inclined in that direction. So, very interesting and important points for discussion. If you have any thoughts, you can put them.
Next paragraph. The modern theory of dialectical communism, set forth by Karl Marx and followed by communist governments, is not perfect. According to Vedic communism, no one in the state should ever starve. Presently, there are many bogus institutions which are collecting funds from the public for the purpose of giving food to starving people. But these funds are invariably misused. According to the Vedic instructions, the government should arrange things in such a way that there will be no question of starvation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that a householder must see to it that even a lizard or a snake does not starve. They also must be given food. In actuality, however, there is no question of starvation, because everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, and he sees to it that there is ample arrangement for feeding everyone. In the Vedas, Katha Upanishad, it is said, Eko Bahu Nam Yo Vidadati. Come on. The Supreme Lord supplies the necessities of life to everyone, and there is no question of starvation. If anyone starves, it is due to the mismanagement of the so-called ruler, government, or president.
Governor.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be seen as a controversial point, but it is a powerful and true point that, yeah, why are you not managing things properly so everyone's got shelter and food and education and healthcare? Quite frankly, it's true though. It's like, we could do a whole, but it's like, these are basic needs, basicness, care, you could say caring needs and necessities, making sure the body is okay, they're safe, people, basic things like food. Why are people starving, And especially if you look at the governments of these countries, they're not starving. In fact, if anything, as has been often exposed continually over the years, before they get toppled and cooped, whatever, they have palaces and they have gold and jewelry and they go here, there and everywhere, and their kids are going to, Western education or whatnot. So it's pretty damning, I would say, on the present society. People are not having basic needs, It's very sad as well.
Yeah, I found it interesting in that paragraph that Prabhupada pointed out that the government should be looking after everyone so there is no starvation. Meanwhile, there are independent agencies or organizations who are going around taking more money from the public. The public already gave a bunch of money to the government anyway, right, in the form of taxes. But then you have these independent charities that are taking more money from the people in order to help those who are starving or hungry, or basically to do things that the government should be doing. Is there some issue?
No, I just realised the barcode on the donation box. That's advanced then, isn't it?
Yeah, we put it there. It is clear, so this is the last paragraph of this purport, it is clear therefore that a person who is not well versed in the Vedic injunctions, Veda Shastra Vit, should not run for election as president, governor, etc. Formerly kings were Rajarishis, which meant that although they were serving as kings, they were as good as saintly persons because they would not transgress any of the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures and would rule under the direction of great saintly persons and brahmanas. According to this arrangement, modern presidents, governors, and chief executive officers are all unworthy of their posts because they are not conversant with Vedic administrative knowledge and they do not take direction from great saintly persons and brahmanas. Because of this disobedience to the orders of the Vedas and the brahmanas, King Vena, Prithu Maharaj's father, was killed by the brahmanas. Prithu Maharaj therefore knew very well that it behooved him to rule the planet as the servant of saintly persons and brahmanas. Yeah, very, very interesting point there at the end. Again, Prabhupada making it very clear that there are certain types of person who should be leading. And this term Rajarishi means that they're Kshatriyas, but they're saintly Kshatriyas, like Yudhisthira Maharaj, we hear about that, or Parikshit Maharaj. So these are persons who are well versed in the scripture. They act according to Dharma, according to scripture. They are happy to be ruled and governed, led by the brahmanas, which is not an easy thing. Because if you're a Kshatriya, you're used to making up your own mind, making a decision. You're that type of passionate kind of character that to stop and listen to someone else tell you to do it like this or do it like that is very difficult. But we can see that actually in the Mahabharata, the Pandavas are very obedient. Even though Bhimasen is like, a wild man, for all intents and purposes, he is ready to just get crazy on the Kurus. But because his older brother is first the older brother and the prospective king, and because he has the qualities of a Rajarishi, when he says calm down and chill out, then he listens. So all of them listen. They all follow and do what he says. Even he basically lost them all, and himself and his wife and everything that they own in a gambling match, and they all went along with it. In the modern day, that doesn't fly. Basically, someone would say, "I'm not following this moron. You know what he just did." Da, 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 da. So we don't stand on certain cultural values. You know, so like that. The other thing was that something that, yeah, I thought it was interesting how Prabhupada brought up at the end that Prithu Maharaj, you know, he knows he better kind of look after the Brahmanas because it was them that killed his father. So it's an interesting thing. That's like, oh yeah, you know, I don't think he has this ulterior motive because he's a pure devotee. But it is interesting to cite that point that, of course, he needs to respect the Brahmanas because it was the Brahmanas, that kind of killed his father, so like that. Okay, so we're going to conclude here. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Please remember him, read about him, read some of his quotes, look into some of his different statements. His grasp of the English language is exceptional, and as far as I've ascertained, beyond the comprehension of most English-speaking people. He was exceptional in every aspect of his capacity and ability to lead the Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So very fortunate. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any closing words?
Hare Krishna.